Yo, happy weekend, nerds! Welcome to a brand new episode of Anime Streaming Showcase in the summer of A.S.S. We are on episode 3, and while I do not discourage you going out into the real world to experience life and all that fun sunshineness, it is summer, it is hot as balls, and when there's areas of the country or the world that are like 111 degrees Fahrenheit, which if I plug into my American converter is like 1,000,000 degrees Celsius because I'm stupid, I recommend you stay inside and watch anime because it's super cool. There's a lot of cool stuff out there on the internet, and I'm here to tell you various series that you could find and you should watch instead of going out and getting blistering hot and uncomfortable. So we're going to hop into third episode of Summer of Ass. We're going to look at Tokyo Ghoul, a sort of divisive series to some, an incredibly fun series to others, and to me, I really enjoy it, so we're going to talk about it, so let's get started. Every few years, we must receive an anime that's bloody, violent, alarming, and an almost instant success. It's written somewhere in the Bible, I think, and I'm pretty sure it's quoted as, "And so Jesus said unto Peter, make sure the Japanese produce a series that turns stomachs and makes a lot of yen. So saith Jesus." Well, Jesus, worry no more, because the Japanese have continuously heeded your words, and in 2014, Studio Pierrot and director Shuhei Morita adapted Sui Husida's Tokyo Ghoul. Tokyo Ghoul is the tale of Ken Kaneki and his vile journey, showcasing the transformation from being a human to being a ghoul, a flesh-craving being, while aiming to retain his humanity. A manga and anime success, I've decided to revisit the Tokyo Ghoul series and devour what the series has to offer a few years removed from its premiere. First things first, when Tokyo Ghoul was premiering, I was completely oblivious to its existence. I had no inkling as to what it was, what it may offer, or what even to expect. What I received in its first episode was an enticing setup that was so enveloping and so dense with story elements, I was sure I had watched 2 full episodes of content. Again, even on my rewatch just a few weeks ago, the first episode is so jam-packed with plot and events that I had to check the Scrabble to confirm the episode was still only the first episode. I'm not one who generally likes to overtly explain an episode, but I feel it's necessary for this particular example. So from the start of the episode to its closing moments, there is a momentous charge from one plot element to another with little breathing room throughout. Before Ken Kaneki is even introduced, the first character we see is an enthralled woman feasting on a pile of corpses who's then interrupted by a hulking man who interrupts her meal and challenges her. It's a brief scuffle that then switches the story over to Kaneki and his friend Hideyoshi with a cafe called Anteku, and they talk about the Kaneki's crush. Kaneki sees another girl, Rize, who he eventually asks out as their tastes in literature seem to be a complete match. A bit later, the same girl now has Kaneki in an alley sadistically biting and thrashing him around before being crushed by plummeting steel beams. We then are treated to ghostly transition of Kaneki and Rize becoming one as Rize's organs are implemented into Kaneki to save his life. We are halfway there, nerds. Kaneki's happy to be alive, but he feels suddenly different, and his lack of appetite, stating everything in his digestion tastes dreadful, leading him home to a bevy of groceries from his friend Hideyoshi. While trying to eat, he overhears a report on TV concerning ghouls and their quirks. They must feast on human flesh. They could sustain themselves for a month, yet there also seem to be a recent outbreak of human attacks. Kaneki panics and starts indulging himself on anything food-based around him, all resulting in the same ending of having him rush to the toilet to vomit it up. Kaneki nearly accepts his new fate, his new life, wandering the streets, taking in the sights and smells of those around him. But Kaneki's human side refuses to give in, and even attempting self-mutilation versus the alternative cannibalism, his ghoul side shatters a knife that he tries to stab into himself and leaves him weeping. Eventually, Kaneki's hunger overtakes him, leading him towards the first meal of his new diet, but regrettably it leads him to the territory of another more aggressive ghoul, Kazuko Yoshida, who dominates Kaneki until Toka, a waitress from the aforementioned Anteku Cafe, steps in. Confused at Kaneki's uneasiness and unwillingness to eat human flesh, she shoves a handful of flesh down his throat, finally sating his hunger. All of that is packed into a single episode of Tokyo Ghoul, laying the entire groundwork of an eerie, ghoulish anime that has captivated millions worldwide. And it is certainly a captivating episode despite how much is crammed into it, and most of the episodes in the 12-episode series follow this same direction. Unfortunately for Tokyo Ghoul, this pacing can also be a downfall of the series as the plot is so constantly moving that there is little recap, which is kind of nice, but that means there's limited time to process previous events before new ones start. In just the 12 episodes of Tokyo Ghoul, Studio Pierrot adapts approximately 7 volumes of manga content, which is about 60 chapters, and of course changing around events to fit the anime's narrative, leaving the remaining half of the manga unanimated. Admittedly, there is a fine line in adapting a lot of content, but still creating a coherent story, and Tokyo Ghoul tries to repeatedly do this, but occasionally doing it well, while also failing to leave an episode satisfying. And like most anime adaptations, the faithfulness of edition is up for debate, as a lot of plot points and character developments are left out or moved around and completely changed. So while there are some quality fights and brutal violence throughout Tokyo Ghoul, its limited development for later characters are almost non-existent, and thus to me are hardly memorable outside of superficial reasons. The series needed a true 26 episode development cycle to fully showcase its story, and honestly no, Tokyo Ghoul Route A is not a satisfactory follow-up to the original story. It's deviating and it's spinning off into an anime-only ending territory. That sounds snobbish, I know, but I've been burned way too many times by anime-only endings, and I'm a bit bitter towards them. That personal bitterness aside, this production of Tokyo Ghoul is not a bad adaptation though, and it's oddly refreshing seeing that Studio Pierrot had a short run to tell a full story. If you are familiar with this particular studio, the ongoing joke about them is their ability to get the new hot shonen series, stuff like Bleach, Naruto, then milk them until they're dried husks of their former selves. But they've also produced several high-quality series too, like the aforementioned Yu Yu Hakusho, series like Flame of Recca, and 12 Kingdoms, just to name a few. But I'm not here to discuss filler-laden programs and companies that are content padding out shows to beat the dead cash cow over and over and over and over and over, am I? Now this is sort of where the divisiveness comes in, as fans of the series have argued. Ultimately, thanks to the breakneck pacing, we get a glimpse of the brutality of the ghoul world, while how naive and timid Kaneki is. The duality of the two worlds suddenly crashing together, and his attempts to keep a balance of human ghoul personality spans the course of the series. Kaneki slowly learns more of his new adopted world, as well as his abilities and the war raging against and within him. He suffers the range of emotions expected of him to experience. Happiness, loss, grief, torture, normal everyday suffering we all go through. But the brutality of Tokyo Ghoul is undoubtedly something to be aware of. Blood is spilled. Buckets and buckets and buckets of blood are spilt, seemingly so much that the censors in Japan at the time of the TV airing, many censorship techniques were utilized. Thankfully, sites like Hulu and Funimation are completely censor-free, but I recall when I was watching it as it aired weekly how just jarring and sometimes obnoxious some of the tactics were. So much so, actually, that I nearly dropped the show because I didn't wish to be pampered so often. But I swallowed my pride, and I realized it could have been a lot worse for censorship. I mean, none of the censoring were as bad as the grotesque Terraform Mars anime were, but they were kind of close. My favorite that they've done in Tokyo Ghoul is the almost inverting of colors to hide the blood. Not cutting away and not blacking out the viciousness, no. Studio Pierrot simply inverted the colors on screen to hide the blood. So you still see the violence, you see the brutality, you see the blood, it's just not red. It's a comical effect, but it's also jarring in the terms of enveloping the viewer into the show. Tokyo Ghoul has its fan base and its loyal readers and its viewers at this point, so it's an established, powerful series that has made creator Sui Ueshida popular in the shonen horror genre. The anime has its flaws throughout its run, and I'd personally say stay away from the Tokyo Ghoul Route A sequel series if you're anticipating more mainline story stuff. Tokyo Ghoul Route A comes off as a more self-serving fan fiction, albeit better than average fan fiction, story than anything else. And it isn't really required viewing in the terms of canon. You can find the full series both on Hulu and Funimation, subbed and dubbed, and I would definitely say give Tokyo Ghoul a go if you could stomach a ruthless, bloody adventure, because despite it being marred with a truncated plot and lackluster follow-up series, it is entertaining in the end. Nuance, thy name isn't Tokyo Ghoul. So there we have it, Episode 3, Anime Streaming Showcase, Summer of A.S.S. Thank you, as always, for joining me. Please go watch a bunch of anime. Stay cool. Stay out of the sun. The sun is your enemy. He will give you cancer and all that bad stuff that we don't like in this world. And you can stay inside and watch a bunch of cool anime and animation and cool shit. So I suggest doing that. But, you know, you're adults. You can do whatever you like. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode of Animation Showcase, continuing the summer of A.S.S. We've got a couple more months to go before it's starting to cool off, hopefully, and life gets a little bit more bearable outside. So stay inside, stay cool, watch anime, and we'll see you next time, dummies.